Hi, this is Governor Greg Abbott, and I want to say thank you to the Moody College of Communication for hosting this year's Barbara Jordan Media Awards. And congratulations to the 2019 award winners on your very well-deserved honor. You know, it's important to emphasize that it is on all of us to recognize the immeasurable value of individuals with disabilities, as well as creative people like you for playing such an important role in this effort. Thank you for using your talent, your skills, and your work to educate others on the potential and the abilities of people with disabilities. Your voice and your advocacy will ensure a more inclusive community for all Texans. May God bless you in your efforts, and may God forever bless the great state of Texas.
I really think that this is an exciting event. It is exciting because it honors people who are communicators, communicating the reality of life as it is for people who have disabilities.
Prove them wrong, be the one to make it happen, by Nancy Shugart. Once I recovered from my shock of hearing that professor advised me to change my major 4 months before I was to graduate, I had to ask myself if I had the passion and strength to press forward, knowing there'd be many more hurdles to overcome. My only dream was to be a teacher. It was all I had ever wanted to do. That professor did make sense from a realistic point of view. However, he failed to consider the most important ingredient in the foundation of all success, that being the level of passion someone feels for reaching a goal, no matter what obstacles may stand in the way. What if every person performed at their highest level with contagious enthusiasm, unwavering confidence in themselves, unshakable determination? How many more answers would we have today? A problem weakens when hit from all sides with enthusiasm, confidence, and determination. It eventually collapses. To be the one to make it happen, you must first acknowledge that it's possible. You must know this with all your heart. You have answers only you can offer. Your unique experiences and lessons learned from those experiences can now be used to achieve results that would otherwise remain hidden under the limiting beliefs of others. To achieve massive success, we must put our whole heart and soul into being the best we can be, and that requires passion. Surround yourself with passion-driven people. Those we spend our time with can influence us greatly. Spend time with complainers, and you'll likely become a complainer rather than a doer. But it's not enough to feel passion for what you want to do. As I mentioned earlier, there has to be a purpose to it. Who besides you will benefit when it's fulfilled? Will it be your family, society, customers, animals, the environment? To have a passion-driven goal or dream, you must have a purpose or a mission for wanting to accomplish it. They go hand in hand.
What do you do with a voice like that? The story of extraordinary Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, by Chris Barton. Illustrations by Akua Holmes. As a Texas state senator, Barbara represented the people she'd grown up among. Before, she'd merely trusted in the political system. Now, she was a part of it. When it works right, the system makes laws that improve our lives, and it makes sure that people, both the powerful and the powerless, follow those laws. Changes to our laws sometimes come from raising a ruckus outside the system, but Barbara's way was to make change from within. What do you do with a voice like that? You share it with the entire country. In her next election, in 1972, Barbara moved up to the United States Congress in Washington, D.C. She delivered, battling to protect the rights of Mexican-American voters and others against discrimination. So many people had so many hopes for Barbara. In her voice, they knew there was much to admire. How she spoke for those who had less power. How she spoke for those who possessed quieter strengths than her own. How she spoke for those who did not want to be limited by their weaknesses. Barbara Jordan's former students still move among us, striving to do work that would have made her proud, hearing echoes of her words as they try to make life better for all of us. For when it has been silenced, what do we do with a voice like that? We remember it, and we honor it by making our own voices heard.
What I like about this gym is it's not a fancy gym. It's not all about the bicycles and the treadmills and looking pretty. It's all about helping each other and encouraging each other to lift more weights beyond what you thought you were capable of.
Fitness buff Cody Colchado.
I do 1 million pounds in a year, and I've been doing this for 35 years. So I've lifted over 35 million pounds. Woo! I'm the only blind power lifter here in the Valley. Mirror don't mean nothing to me anymore. But when you first start as a young man, you want to use the mirror because you want to see how your muscles grow and how you look. Now, as a blind person, I use numbers as my indicator. I squatted over 620 pounds, and then I bench press. I hold a world record for the blind at 501 pounds. And the deadlift, I've done 722 pounds. Woo!
He holds more world records and titles than we could ever list here. At the age of 54, he still competes professionally in the sport of strongman.
So what is this thing out here? It looks like you've got an axle and a couple of tires and wheels and stuff. That's in your yard.
Yeah, that's one of the events that we do for strongman, and it's called the axle barbell lift.
Huh? You lift this?
Yes, sir.
Show me.
All right, yes, sir. Well, guide me. Very good. All right, I got it. All right, here we go. Back straight. Up, up, down. I said, I want to be an athlete. You know, I trained hard. I played all sorts of sports, and my whole dream was over when I was a junior in high school. I had a freak football injury. The black sprinkler system you see in a football field at practice, back of my helmet hit it and shattered it, and within 24 hours, I lost almost all my eyesight.
In spite of his injury, Cody continued to work out. He found support in the weightlifting community and even spent time working for fitness icon Jack LaLanne.
My dream was destroyed, and weight training gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason to keep going and wake up every day and continue lifting weights. This sport saved my life.
He sees what it takes to succeed, and that's not the muscle of a strong man. It's the willpower of a strong man.
If you have a dream, go get it. Go do it. I lived my dream.
The world could be the vision of the one I see. 1,000,000 dreams is all it's gonna take. There's a lot of things I want to be. Mostly a singer. That always goes away most energy. But I still got lots of energy.
She wasn't a candidate for lower legs. She's got no residual to hold on to or control prosthetics with. And her arm was pretty small, and most kids with congenital arm amputations don't even use a prosthesis because they get so used to using what they have.
When Tessa was 1 or 2, she had to come to understand that she really wasn't going to have legs. And what did that really mean?
One of our biggest fears what is she gonna miss out on? But she kind of does pretty much whatever she wants for the most part.
There's stuff I can't do like outside of the water, so I like learning new stuff in the water. They seem a little bit loose.
People who are able-bodied will see someone who has a disability and feel this sense of sadness or pity even. And I love how Tessa just defies that at every turn.
What really surprised us last spring, she had a goal that she wanted to try to pass a swim test that we have here. Most kids don't pass it until they're 7 or 8 years old.
I come home from work and she tells me that she passed her swim test. And the biggest thing to me, I think, is just to see her independence getting stronger and stronger.
Look at that, Tessa!
That was awesome.
And you can see on her face when she gets out of the pool. You know, she's just so proud.
There's just really no limit to what she can do, because when she decides to do something, she is absolutely determined to do it.
Oh, Mommy, look at that.
Ride-sharing services like Uber have changed the way we all get around when we don't have a set of wheels. For people with disabilities, though, the service has been a huge lifeline to help them get around.
But a woman in Pantego says that her lifeline was cut when an Uber driver left her standing on the curb in the pouring rain. It was all over a disagreement about her service dog. Our consumer reporter Wayne Carter's here now with her story and what Uber is now saying about it. Wayne?
Donna Mack was born more than 2.5 months premature with a visual impairment.
I could read like newsprint, had to hold it really close.
At 12, she lost her vision entirely, but runs a business, cares for her family, and says getting around town has gotten much easier thanks to the ride-sharing platform Uber.
It's been great.
A couple weeks ago, she had a business meeting and ordered an Uber to take her there. She reached out to the driver before he arrived.
But it was pouring rain. I had told him about my disability. My dog was in harness. She guided me from my front door to my driveway where he was waiting. He said the dog needs to get in the back. And I said, yeah, no problem. You know, we're both going to get in the back.
She says the driver corrected her, saying the dog would sit in the back and she would sit in the front.
It was like, it's okay, I'll sit in the back. And then he says, no, the dog needs to go in the trunk. And I mean, I was just blown away, and I said, sir, that's illegal.
She says without words, she heard the car speed off. Donna isn't alone. This complaint was filed by a Mansfield woman and is in arbitration. It outlines several instances where she says Uber drivers denied her service because of her dog.
It's not good to separate us from our dogs. You don't know why that person has that dog.
She wants people with disabilities to know about her experience.
To me, this is moving backward. In whose customer service universe is it okay to leave a passenger, even if they didn't have a disability? You know, that's just, it's wrong.
Deaf Students Struggle with Getting Last-Minute Interpreters by William Dennis Kaczynski, The Daily Texan. The Services for Students with Disabilities policy requires deaf students to submit requests for interpretation services outside of class hours with at least 3 days' notice. Several deaf students said professors and other classmates often change times or locations of meetings at the last minute, meaning students may not be able to find an interpreter in time. A few weeks ago, my professor made last-minute office hours, said Jacob Cheek, a communication sciences and disorders junior who was deaf. On the same day, he said the review session would be moved back an hour. I can't do anything about that. I knew that if I submitted a request, I would not get an interpreter. Environmental engineering sophomore Rebecca Giuntoli said the complexities of engineering are hard to translate into American Sign Language and present communication barriers between herself and her interpreters. Giuntoli said when she is able to find interpreters on short notice, they often cannot appropriately translate engineering concepts. "I can't go to office hours, tutoring, or study groups last minute," said Giuntoli, who is also deaf. "Everything has to be 3 business days in advance. That is very challenging to me because professors and classmates often don't put that into consideration." Additional resources, such as more interpreters, transcription services, and professional note-takers, would give deaf and hard-of-hearing students sufficient support to fully utilize educational opportunities, Cheek said. "I want to be on the same field as everyone else," Cheek said. "At UT, every assignment, every lecture, every classroom is made for hearing people with no disabilities. It's not made for us. That's why we have the accommodations."
A Person First Before Hurtful Words by Hannah Gaither, student, Dripping Springs High School. These words have long-lasting effects. According to the National Bullying Prevention Center, 10 studies found that students with disabilities are 2 to 3 times more likely to be bullied than their non-disabled peers. Bullying is a broad category, which includes verbal and physical abuse, threats, written statements, and any other action that are considered harmful or humiliating. Although the word bullying itself is most often associated with physical assault, the most common form is actually verbal. The use of harmful words, no matter how uneducated or ignorant, is inexcusable. To introduce someone or refer to them by their disability is dehumanizing. Diagnoses are not defining characteristics and should not be used as an introduction. They are not an autistic person. They are a person before any disability. A mother, father, brother, sister, friend, classmate, people with good days and bad days, memories and desires, hopes and dreams. The idea of putting the emphasis on the person instead of the disability is called people first language. People first language is saying, "That kid has Down syndrome," instead of "that Downs kid." It is usually unnecessary to mention the disability at all when referring to a person. But if necessary, people first language is the respectful way to approach it. Disabilities are not defining characteristics, just another part of the story. Changing the way we speak, in either rephrasing sentences or avoiding harmful words, can make a huge difference in the lives of others. Laziness and ignorance are not excuses for mistreating others. Humans should be treated like humans.
Racing to Recovery by Cody Duty, Texas Medical Center's Pulse magazine. On February 20th, 2016, Odessa Ellis was cycling along Highway 90 in Fort Bend County when a drunk driver in a black Jaguar hit her from behind. She flew 25 feet into the air and landed in muddy, stagnant water. As she lay there, her major organs started to fail, and a deep puncture in her lower back opened her body to infection. By the time paramedics arrived, Ellis was all but dead. On October 12th, 8 months after the accident, physicians amputated her left leg below the knee, a decision made in part because it provided a more straightforward path to recovery and would allow Ellis, a triathlete, to return to running, swimming, and cycling. "They told me I couldn't do certain things, and I would go and do them," Ellis recalled. "I said I wanted walking crutches, and they told me I wasn't ready for them. So I got online and ordered some and walked into my next therapy session. They were shocked." That tolerance for suffering, that grit, is something Ellis has always had, and it likely saved her life. What has really impressed me with Odessa is this non-stop perseverance in knowing what she wants and figuring out how to get it. said Danielle H. Melton, MD, director of the Amputee and Orthotics and Prosthetics program at TIRR Memorial Hermann Hospital. She has really surprised everybody in her recovery. My recovery is going well. In some areas, better than expected, while in others, not fast enough, she said. But when someone is told they'll never walk again, and within a couple of years they're learning to walk unassisted and attempting to jog, it's amazing. I could easily give up and sit in my wheelchair. I have a long way to go, but I do not intend to stop trying. Ellis's doctors have grown accustomed to her indefatigable resolve. I don't know that I've ever seen somebody so motivated as she is to accomplish what she wants to accomplish, Melton said, and I have no doubt she's going to get there.
Imagine yourself at a downtown intersection. You may not have noticed, but there's an area of small bumps leading up to the street. Those are called truncated domes. And you know what they're for? They're so blind people know that it's time to stop.
The term I prefer to use is blind or low vision. I try to shy away from the term visually impaired, just because of the impaired component sort of has a negative connotation. And there's not necessarily anything negative about the fact that you can't see, you just can't see.
It's a new tool that works to help blind people get real-time bus information on their smartphone. It's an app that gives them the schedule, informs them of delays, and most importantly, guides them step by step to the nearest bus stop. The technology itself is a collaboration between 3 different companies: Connect Things, Blind Square, and of course, Capital Metro. And you can't tell this story without all 3. Not only does the app help guide the person from point A to point B, it gives them the ability to be a little adventurous. Using a voice command, a user could ask, "Where's the nearest coffee shop?" And the app would guide them audibly.
Destination 100 feet at 11 o'clock.
Blind Square is made to get people where they need or want to go. But GPS mapping usually puts you a few feet from your destination. And that's not ideal when you're looking to catch the bus.
We know from our friends that we listen to that if they don't know where the pole is or where the sign is that the bus driver is watching for, that if you're not right there, that the bus driver will often just keep driving.
That's what makes the Cap Metro pilot unique. It adds another layer, telling the user where the bus stop is exactly. I'm back in Republic Square Park with Karithi while he pulls up the app on his smartphone. It takes a moment to find our location.
Because you can't really know where you're going until you know where you are.
Once there, Karithi looked up the bus schedule.
Bus 3 Burning Man Cha-Cha, southbound leaves in 27 minutes. 5 Woodrow Lamar SB leaves in 5 minutes. 6 East 12th VB leaves in 32 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
It is. It's very helpful.
Now, Karithi and his team at Cap Metro are working with their partners to sift through all that user feedback. It's not yet certain when or how they'll move forward, but Karithi says to stay tuned.
What we want to do is really give folks the opportunity to be as independent as they would like to be, given what their God-given abilities are, and take advantage of all the good things that Austin has to offer.
Living inside a canister, Dallas polio survivor is one of few people left in U.S. using iron lung, by Mark Ramirez, the Dallas Morning News. The machine is what people see first. The submarine-like metal cylinder dominates the room, rhythmically humming and pulsating as it helps keep Paul Alexander alive. It is simple but effective. A big tube, a motor, a moving arm. As the paralyzed Dallas lawyer lies inside, his head protrudes from a velvety, airtight closure at one end, propped on a pillow on a height-adjusted table. Alexander has spent much of his life in a can, a childhood victim of a once epidemic disease that menaced the nation and now leaves him at the mercy of a mechanical respirator. Though unable to move from the neck down, he refused to be limited by his metal prison, finding success in both the classroom and the courtroom. At the University of Texas at Austin, where he earned his bachelor's and law degrees, students crowded his open dorm door and gawked. Later, clients visiting his home waited a while before they ultimately asked, "What is that thing you're in? Is it a sauna?" No, he would say, it's an iron lung. I had polio as a kid. Then some would ask, what's polio? No one makes iron lungs anymore. Barely a handful of people still use the hulking respirators, which apply negative pressure to enable breathing for those unable to do so on their own. Alexander, 72, is among the few. The semi-retired bankruptcy lawyer has been using one since he was 6, his lungs and muscles ravaged by paralytic polio. One of Dallas ISD's first homeschooled students, Alexander learned to memorize instead of taking notes. He graduated second in his class from W.W. Samuel High in 1967. The only reason I didn't get first, he said, is because I couldn't do the biology lab. Next came Southern Methodist University, where he got around with the help of volunteers from Alpha Phi Omega fraternity, before transferring to UT, along with his iron lung. There, he earned his bachelor's degree in 1978, then his law degree in 1984. He spent his career practicing family law and helping people filing for bankruptcy fight off creditors. Faith powers him onward, and he credits his motivation to succeed to a spirit of defiance, and most of all, to his late parents, whom he describes as extraordinary souls, magical. They just loved me, he says. They said, you can do anything, and I believed it.
I am delighted that these persons who are recipients of these awards today understand the reality that is important, crucial, urgent that it be communicated.